Welcome to the 26-Week Internet Marketing Plan Podcast. This podcast accompanies the 26-Week Internet Marketing Plan newsletter, a comprehensive step-by-step internet marketing plan for any business. If you're not receiving the newsletter already, make sure you subscribe today. The 26-Week Internet Marketing Plan newsletter is available free of charge from www.26weekplan.com. Now, here's your host, 26weekplan.com author and founder, David Bain.
Welcome to the 71st episode of the 26-Week Internet Marketing Plan Podcast. Now, today I'm joined by Steve Shaw, founder of the popular SumitYourArticle.com service. Steve, many thanks for joining me.
Thank you, David.
Excellent. Now, you trained in information technology and went on to work for big companies, I know, but I'm presuming that you had some kind of entrepreneurial seizure and decided that you'd rather work for yourself and set up online businesses.
Yeah, it was partly partly came out of boredom in my sort of last real job, I guess. I was working for an IT company based in New York, and they didn't really have any projects on, so I spent a lot of time kind of surfing the internet, and it kind of coincided with the birth of my first child, who's now worryingly nearly 11 years old. So, but she was quite poorly for her first year, and I wanted to be home a lot more than I was sort of able to really with a job. So the two kind of coincided. I was really looking to work at home, and I found a way to work online, which worked really well for us as a family and me. So yeah.
Great stuff. So how do you actually get into article marketing? Because you certainly seem to be better known for that. Yeah,
my first sort of foray into the world of self-employment, I guess, was working as a developer for people in the States, really, who came across me via my sort of very first rudimentary website. I had some software on there that enabled people to put pop-ups easily on their website, and somehow that kind of became quite viral, and it got the attention of certain internet marketers in the States, and they kind of got in touch about me doing some programming work for them. And out of that, I started to kind of see what they did, which was really kind of develop a product and then sell it multiple times.
Right.
And I like the sound of that, so I started to put my own software together to sell online, and I found article marketing as a result of trying to work out how to market those software products. I sort of realised quite quickly it's not just a case of kind of building something and then people will start buying it. You've got to put the work in to market it, and article marketing, I found that really effective for getting the word out and for starting to really increase traffic to my website.
So what kind of year was this?
This goes back to the early noughties, as we say, so about sort of 2001, 2002 was when I really got started.
Right.
And Submit Your Article was kind of launched around 2003-ish.
Okay, excellent. So you've been in the business for a long time then, certainly, and you must have seen an awful lot of changes. What would you say the main differences are now compared with what article marketing was like perhaps 7 or 8 years ago or so?
I think it takes a lot more kind of articles out there to start making an impact. I mean, people always want kind of a really, really quick result with anything, really, and they expect overnight success. And in the early days of article marketing, because very few people were doing it really, because it was such kind of a tedious process to kind of go around to different article directories and submit your content, you had to be pretty committed to do that, and there wasn't as much content out there really. But since the development of kind of automated tools like Submit Your Article, there is a ton more articles out there, so it takes more work to kind of raise your head, above the parapet, as it were, with your content. But the rewards are certainly still there, for those who are again committed to kind of produce the content and to do the legwork that it requires, really.
Right, okay. I remember as recently ago as perhaps 3 or 4 years ago, I was submitting just something like one article a week to Easing Articles, and using a keyword phrase within that, and that was enough to rank for reasonably competitive keyword phrases, actually. But obviously the strategy's got to be a lot more thorough and integrated with other types of marketing now, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. We're finding, that you have to you don't really have to submit as much content out there, but we have tools, for example, that allow you to have one base article, but then to have every article that derives from that to be sort of a new version of that article, and it kind of helps with the link building and such. And I think as the amount of content has grown, that is that comes out of article marketing, Google has kind of become more sophisticated in their methods, of trying to work out, what content comes from where and how to rank sites as a result. So you kind of need to be more sophisticated in your approach than what was the case, 3 or 4 years ago, as you say.
And do you think it's important to get your articles on lots of different sites?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you can really get the same results from just having an article on these articles anymore as you used to. I always see it as kind of, if you're going to write a book, you wouldn't just put it in one bookshop, but you want to get as many eyes on it as possible. And different publishers kind of frequent different websites, and different websites will kind of have different levels of prominence in the search engines for particular bits of content. So the more widely you can distribute content, the better, really, because you're going to get more, eyeballs on it, and you're going to build up more links, especially if you're kind of using tools to reduce the amount of not duplicate content, but the amount of kind of articles that exist in exactly the same way on different websites. You can get them on using different versions.
Okay, and you mentioned duplicate content there. What's your opinion on Google's opinion of duplicate content at the moment, and what do you think are the best strategies to actually get ranked in as many places as possible?
Yeah, there's quite a myth really about duplicate content, that it's in some way kind of damaging to websites. If you start, having the same content everywhere linking back to your site, that's going to damage you. That's not the case at all. It's more the case that if you have kind of the same article on 30 different websites, Google isn't going to give you kind of the credit for 30 links because it's basically all the same content. So they'll find one and treat that as the most prominent, source of that content, and treat that as kind of the main link to your site. In terms of duplicate content on your own website, so content you might have on your own website that exists elsewhere, it's certainly important to have content that's unique as well, that really kind of adds value to the internet space, really.
Okay, so it's more important to have unique content maybe on your own site, but when you're distributing content elsewhere, as long as you're getting the content out to decent, relevant places, it doesn't matter so much that it's duplicate basically on other sites. It
doesn't matter at all, no. In terms of your own site, it's certainly fine to have some content that also exists, elsewhere. That's perfectly sort of normal. In terms of content that's syndicated all around the web, like press releases and content from RSS feeds and that sort of thing, it's kind of expected that a certain proportion of content will exist elsewhere as well. But to get sort of real value, it's a really good idea to try and get some real unique value on your own website too, that gives the real value to your website, and Google kind of recognises that and will rank your website accordingly.
Now, what would you say are the main benefits to submitting articles? Would it be SEO? Would it be click-throughs from the links in your author bio, or perhaps syndication benefits?
It's all of them, really. I mean, I see the main benefit coming through SEO improvements that you get from all the inbound linking and such. Can really kind of boost your SEO, and as you get higher up the search engines, you can get a lot of traffic from that. But you also get click-through from the articles themselves. Some people kind of expect a huge amount of clicks to come through every article that they send out there, and they send out a couple of articles and expect an avalanche of traffic to result. It doesn't really work like that. It's really a case of, once you have quite a few articles in syndication out there, then the traffic does start to build up. And as you get more sort of consistent in your article marketing, you also start to be recognized by certain publishers who are kind of looking for content in a particular niche, and you might end up with relationships with certain publishers where you're published more regularly. For example, I have 2 or 3 columns in offline publications now as a result of kind of consistent article marketing efforts. So all of that helps inbound traffic too, and just general kind of credibility of your business and your own reputation online as well.
Excellent. So it's a tool to help you build up, demonstrate that you're an authority in your niche, effectively.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, the keyword phrases, choosing the right keyword phrases for your articles is obviously important. How do you recommend people go about selecting the keyword phrases that they use in their articles?
It's really important to do some keyword research. I always say that's kind of the foundation of article marketing. It's not something you just kind of dive into and start producing content on anything and hope to get a good result. It's, keyword research is kind of the foundation, really. And to do that, I'd suggest you using Google's keyword tool, which is, really easy to use and very effective. The URL for that is a bit convoluted, but you can just search for keyword tool on Google, and it should be the first result that comes up on the page there.
Sure.
What people are looking for are really sort of two lists of keywords. One consisting of the main keywords for their website that they're hoping to kind of rank well for. And they tend to kind of have higher competition levels but they have higher traffic levels as well. So there's a higher reward there, but because of the high reward, obviously more website owners are kind of going after that gold, as it were. And your second list of keywords are the longer tail keyword phrases, where you tend to get lower competition, and there's also kind of lower traffic for that as well. But it means that because there's lower competition, that individual articles that are written kind of around those longer tail keyword phrases can rise to certainly on the first page of Google quite often, and get quite a lot of click through as a result. With the list of main keyword phrases, the key keyword phrases that you want your site to rank well for, what you do with article marketing is link back to your website using those keyword phrases, and that helps Google to understand what your site is about, really, because you have those words in the link, and it tells Google what your site is about, and it tells visitors who click through what to expect really when they get through to your website. And I'd really advise to kind of have between sort of 3 to 5 of those and cycle between them, so you get fairly natural looking links all over the web. You don't really want to just kind of focus on one and get every link using the same phrase, because it ends up looking very unnatural, and it's not going to be very effective if Google thinks you're doing something unnatural.
Okay, great stuff. I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of content writing style as well. Mm-hmm. There are lots of different options out there. Perhaps you can tell a story, perhaps you can be more factual driven. Is there any particular style of article that is most effective when it comes to kind of getting you traffic back to your site?
I think either style can work well. It depends a lot on your niche, I think. Some niches are kind of better adapted to kind of storytelling, and others tend to be more, factual based. But either, you can mix and match between the two styles, really. That's perfectly fine. The one thing I'd recommend is for people to remember that the articles tend to be read online. That people have kind of lower concentration spans, and there's also lots of things kind of going off around them, like new emails coming in and different websites popping up all over the place and that sort of thing. And you've really got kind of quite a short attention span of the person reading, so you need to make it very readable, and that involves kind of very short paragraphs, lots of bullet points. So you don't want big chunks of text on the screen, because people just won't read it at all, and they'll be very they'll have their attention diverted very easily and kind of dive off somewhere else. And just to kind of ensure good readability of the article, it should read very well. It should have good levels of quality, and just to spell check it as well. I think quality is kind of becoming more and more important, not just from the point of view of publishers who might potentially want to publish your work, but also from Google's point of view. They can check the quality of readability and spelling and such to some degree, and that will affect the power, as it were, of your inbound links.
And of course, Google had a fairly significant change to its algorithm quite recently, to try and focus on lack of quality and take that out of its search engine listings. So that's a kind of very important area that you mentioned there. Is there any aspect of the Google algorithm change that you think people should be considering in relation to article marketing?
Yeah, I think before the change, it was very easy for people who had, a lot of different niches to kind of pump out very low quality articles and hope to get a result from that. And I think the real implication of Google's change was that it's important for articles that are going out there to have a level of quality to be effective for people. The low quality stuff is going to be filtered out more and more. Just from looking at Ease on Article's response to that update by Google, they've purged a lot of articles from their article directory because they saw their own kind of traffic take a bit of a dive, and they kind of linked it back to a certain level of quality in some articles on their website, and they've kind of removed all of those. And to get the results from article marketing, you need to make your article really stand out from the crowd, and to make it really, you need to provide some real value to people reading. I think that before the change, people tended to write a lot for search engines and didn't really think about the end reader at all. And the real implication, as far as I can see, is that you really need to be thinking more and more about the end kind of user or the reader of your article, the real person who's going to get the value out of it, rather than just trying to pump out articles for links and such.
Now, a lot of people in business will be thinking that their own particular niche is quite a dry area for coming up with good kind of content-rich material to use for article marketing. People perhaps just can't come up with good article marketing ideas for articles. Are there any tips that you can perhaps offer people to come up with article marketing ideas for content?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really common kind of problem in a way that people, struggle to come up with the ideas, and it's perfectly sort of normal for that to happen. But the interesting thing is once you start writing articles, your brain kind of does a bit of a switch, and you tend to kind of find ideas, all over the place, and that they tend to come to you more and more the more that you write. But apart from that, some ideas to think about are to firstly listen to your customers and to the people who visit your website, because quite often they're kind of your best source of content ideas. They'll tell you what they want to know about. They'll kind of put in, customer support inquiries about how to do this and how to do that. And your answers to them can often form the basis of great articles that then, of course, you'll be able to refer future inquirers to, that they can just go and read the article that would answer their question. Blogs, if you have a blog on your website, apart from the SEO benefits, that they're a great source for ideas for just that reason. If you've got posts out there, people will, comment, and they quite often ask a question. I know a lot of the ideas in the articles I put out come from, the visitors to our own website and to the blog, and in response to comments that they put on there. A great idea is to kind of think about what the 10 most common questions are regarding your particular niche, and you can have an article that answers each one of those. List articles are a really great idea, where you can have articles in the format such as 7 top tips about something, or 10 steps to do something. And it's interesting because once you have that kind of article, you can then expand each of those tips or each of those steps into an article of its own right. And you can also use what we call article templates, which kind of give you the foundation of an article. So some examples might be the dinner party reply type templates, which is really, if you're at a dinner party, people tend to ask, what do you do? And you can write an article around that kind of concept, introducing people to what your niche is and what you kind of do within that niche. You can also use a beginner's guide template, where you kind of introduce your niche to a complete beginner. You kind of think about, what somebody would want to find out if they didn't know anything about your particular niche. If your niche is fishing, for example, you'd really introduce it to somebody who knows nothing whatsoever about fishing. There's an interesting historical figure template, where you can kind of look back through history, find historical figure, find like a quote from them, and kind of try and relate it back to your niche, and you can talk about that and develop an article from that. It's important to remember that articles are generally fairly short, 400 words minimum really, which is only kind of 4 or 5 paragraphs really. So it's quite easy to kind of build up an article from that kind of thing. Another great idea is to kind of use a top mistakes template where you think about what the common issues are people face within your niche and what typically goes wrong for people, the main mistakes people make, and you can kind of go through those mistakes and rectify them, within the article and put people right.
A lot of excellent tips there. You mentioned 400 words minimum. Is there any kind of maximum that you'd advise?
I generally recommend a maximum of 800 words, really, because if you get beyond 800 words, it tends to be too long for quite a few publishers to want to publish. For e-zine editors, for example, they tend to want fairly short articles, and above 800 words, people don't really have the attention span again to kind of read an article much longer than that. And a secondary reason for that is you can get more benefit if you split up a longer article. If it gets above 800 words, you're probably better off trying to split it up into two different articles and getting the benefit from both articles rather than just one article out there.
Okay, and in terms of writing your articles, would you always advise writing your own articles, or is there a scenario where it would be appropriate to outsource the writing of your articles, but actually distribute the articles under your own name, even though someone else has written them?
Yeah, both can work very well. I think it tends to be more effective if you are able to write your own articles, because obviously kind of you're the expert in your niche and it'll come across in a better way perhaps. But the one thing people struggle with article marketing is consistency, and it can mean that if you're struggling to write the articles each week and do everything else that's required within a business, you won't actually be able to take advantage of everything that article marketing can offer. And in that case, it can be wise to outsource the writing. And if you want to do that, I'd really kind of advise to work with somebody on a regular basis, so they really get to know your business really well and can write, quite easily in the end about different topics on your niche. And if you get ideas, you have somebody to forward ideas to, for future writing.
Are there any places that you could recommend to potentially find outsourced writers? Yeah,
there are quite a few freelancer type sites. There are sites like Guru.com, Odesk.com is really good to work with. Freelancer.com as well. There's also a great site called Textbroker.com, and that's pretty easy to use. You basically just input the requirements for the article you've got. So you might want it kind of focused around a particular keyword or on a particular topic, for example, and you can just put in your requirements, put in the order, and then within sort of a day or two you'll get the article back. And it tends to be sort of different writers who provide the content, but the quality I found is very good, and you can actually specify in the order the level of quality that you're looking for.
And what if you've got a reasonable budget and you're wanting to get quite a few articles written to promote a fairly big website that you've got? Would you, in that circumstance, submit articles promoting the same website in multiple pen names?
I generally not recommend that, really, because there's probably no sort of big reason why not, but I always kind of think it's better to stick with kind of one pen name relating to one niche, because people will, if they see quite a few articles on many article directories, you can kind of click the pen name to kind of see a list of articles from the same author and that kind of thing.
Right.
And it's a bit neater to kind of keep it from the same pen name. But I guess there's no real reason why you couldn't do it with a few pen names out there.
There's no issue at all with using pen names, though.
No, there's no issue using pen names at all. There's lots of people, for example, have businesses in different niches and write under different pen names for different niches, just because they don't want their own name, for example, associated with a different niche, because it might confuse somebody who's reading an article and clicking through and reading articles about all manner of different topics on article directories, for example.
One thing that a lot of people don't get right is the resource box. What, in your opinion, is the best way to format the author bio resource box?
Really, what you're looking for are 2 to 4 sentences. It's fairly short, so above 400 characters, and it's too long, really. So it's a very short blurb, really. What people tend to look for. You need your name in there generally. You need a bit of information about yourself, even if it's to say, you're the owner of a particular website, a little bit about your business, and generally you need to provide a reason for people to click through. So you provide your link in the resource box, a link or two, and you give people a reason to click through. It might be like a free report that you've got on your website, or just further information that kind of enhances the information you've given in the article. That's probably about it, really. It's a good idea to make it kind of flow on from the article quite naturally, so you don't give away everything in the article, but kind of leave a little bit that people want to find out a bit more about, and you can kind of suggest that people click through to a website in the resource box in order to do that.
Okay, and your resource box is the opportunity, of course, to leave a link to your site as well, and get your long tail keyword phrase back to whatever page you want to on your site. How many links would you advise?
Yes, you generally you're only looking at about sort of 2 links in your resource box. We limit it to 2 on for articles going through our service. That's generally what publishers want, and if you have more than 2, it kind of tends to fill up the resource box with, it just ends up looking like a pure link. So you don't want to kind of look like a link spammer, but keep it natural. Just provide a link or 2. And as you said, one of those links can be kind of the all-important link that contains your main keyword for your site, and you link back using that.
Okay, great stuff. And what would you say is the average, the amount of articles that people submit per week or per month on an ongoing basis?
What we recommend is for a website that people submit about 8 or so a month, and it is generally in line with what you'd expect to publish on a blog. For example, if you're doing a blog, you generally look to kind of do 2 or 3 posts a week, and it's a similar kind of routine with article marketing.
Okay, so 8 a month. And in terms of article marketing model, is there a consistent strategy that people should follow in terms of type of content, a certain sequence of writing? Should people perhaps try and sit down and write all their articles once a month for their whole month submissions, or do you find that there's no best way to do it and it just depends on the individual?
I think it does depend on the individual. I tend to find it works well if you kind of do it in batches of articles, but each to their own, really. It's certainly a good thing in terms of maintaining, consistency, which is very important for article marketing, to ensure that you kind of have a regular slot when you're actually doing the article writing.
Also, I'd like to cover kind of blog networks a little bit as well, because I'm aware that a recent addition to the Submit Your Article service was the facility to distribute your article to a few different blogs as well. How does that work, and what's the benefits of that?
Yeah, it's really without that, then you're submitting articles to article directories and hoping that kind of niche websites are going to come along and search out your content and put that content onto their websites. And it's kind of the more niche focused websites like blogs, that's where you kind of get the most link power from, simply because they're going to be more related to your own website. If you have links from kind of generic article directories, they're not as powerful. So really with our blog network, it means that you kind of skip that step and you're getting content immediately put onto niche-focused websites, and those links have higher value going back to your websites, and it also kind of benefits the blog owner too, because they're linking to related and useful resources from their blog. It tends to boost their own SEO too. And what we offer is something called naked articles as well through our service, which is really an article which is kind of stripped of its resource box and any other author attribution, so it's just kind of the title and the body of the content, and it looks very much like sort of a normal blog post that you'd expect to get on the blog, but you have the benefit of links within the body of the article itself going back to your website, so they're more powerful because the links are kind of higher up the page, and they're all going to be sort of keyword based links, so you've got keywords in the anchor text linking back to your website. So it's a very powerful sort of linking way to get powerful links back to your website from these blogs.
Now, article marketing has been around for a while, but do you think it'll still be around as an effective, common form of internet marketing in, say, 5 years' time?
I do actually, yeah, because, at the end of the day, content is kind of what makes the web go round. I think article marketing has always been kind of a component of an internet marketing strategy. It shouldn't be seen as something on its own that's kind of a magic bullet. But it's a very effective part of an overall strategy that people can use, and I don't think that's going to change. It's about getting your content out there and connecting with people and finding people who are interested in what you've got to offer, and by syndicating your materials around, you're going to do that very effectively. It ties in very well with social media, for example. If you start, writing articles regularly, you can then do tweets on the articles that you've written. You can kind of put links up to your articles on Facebook and so on, and it all ties in very nicely. What I tend to recommend people do in terms of kind of a broader strategy is to write content, but to put that content onto their own website first, onto a blog. That's what I recommend, and for them to then repurpose that content as articles that they then sort of syndicate for article marketing purposes, and kind of bring back, to take advantage of that content to start bringing back links as well. So it's really kind of I see it as kind of the central hub of, a broader internet marketing strategy. Once you've got consistent content going out there, you can then do, so much more with it, social bookmarking and so on.
And do you do anything else with your articles? I'm thinking perhaps making them into PowerPoint slides and creating a video out of them, and perhaps adding audio. Have you experimented with that at all? I
have actually, yeah. I've been sort of experimenting over the past few months with converting articles into video and into audio, producing a kind of a podcast using the articles as the basis of that. And it can also work the other way around, of course, that if you're writing reports, or if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, you can then do it the other way around too, and kind of convert that content into articles that you can then syndicate. So it can work very, very well both ways around.
Or perhaps record a podcast and get it transcribed.
Another great idea. Yes, yeah.
That's a method that I find pretty useful for producing good written content that you can put in your blog as unique content, obviously, as well.
Well, just on that note, I mean, some people find it difficult to write articles, but they find it a lot easier to kind of speak articles, as it were, and a lot of people you can use something in the States. I don't think it's available here, but called Google Voice. You can kind of call up a number and somebody will transcribe that, but the concept is easily extendable. You can just kind of record what you want an article to be written about, and get somebody else to kind of put that into proper article form.
Obviously, we mentioned that your service is called SumitYourArticle.com. Do you want to maybe go into a little bit more depth about exactly how that works and how it benefits article writers?
Sure, yeah. We have an extensive network of publishers that we submit to, so it's not just article directories like eZine Articles and various other sort of high-profile article directories. And we have loads of others as well. But we also submit content to our own email lists, which consists of eZine publishers and other websites who are kind of looking for articles and content in particular areas. We've already mentioned the blogs that we submit to too. And our own article directory gets a lot of traffic as well. We're sort of nearly at 25,000 visitors a day now on the website, so it's fairly prominent. So really, in terms of our users, all they have to do is kind of write the article and then plug it into our system, and then we take care of distributing that content for them to our network of publishers. We have editorial controls for each article that goes out, so every article is kind of manually reviewed to make sure it meets our guidelines, and that's for our members' benefit, because quite often we can spot issues with the article that would prevent its publication, and it's also for the benefit of our publishing network, so that they know that they're getting quality content from us, and that kind of attracts other publishers into our network too. of sort of more benefit to our members in the end. We also allow people to kind of trickle out their submissions naturally. So if you want your article to go out over a 90-day period, for example, you can do that, and it will gradually go out over that time to our whole network. So it can work, better than just kind of blasting it out in a day or two. We also provide a feature called article leverage, where people can set up variations for each article that they have in the system. So, for example, you might have different variations for your article title, and you can use. There's two versions of it really. One is where you might see a sentence and then you can write another version of that sentence and so on, or you might see a resource box and write another. You might write another 2 or 3 versions of that resource box, and when the article is going out, we then construct a fresh article based on all those variations. So it reads perfectly normally and naturally, but it's a different version of the original article. And we also provide something called text spinning, where you can use special syntax within the article itself. And that allows kind of a much greater control over the level of variation, and it can mean the uniqueness of the end article can be a lot higher too, for sort of higher link building. So that's probably kind of a broad overview of what we offer.
Well, that's excellent. I mean, you're obviously very kind of passionate about and knowledgeable about article marketing there. So I think you've offered an awful lot of great tips there, and certainly Submit Your Article provides a great service as well. I'll tell you what. I mean, shall we finish up? If you could possibly give maybe just 1 or 2 quick action steps that people could take. We've provided an awful lot of information there, but what could people do just to simply start article marketing today? What are the first steps?
I think the first step is just to write something, because the blank page is and the first step is always the hardest bit. So just start writing about anything that really, and you'll find that it naturally starts to flow, and you'll gradually get into the groove. It can take, expect it to take a few articles before you really get comfortable with it, and that's just, to be expected. So there's nothing unusual if it doesn't feel particularly natural when you start doing it. And so that's kind of the first thing to start doing. And secondly, look at the keyword research. Start doing a bit of keyword research. Make sure that you're very clear about what you want your site to rank for, because you kind of have to have an aim. From article marketing, you have to kind of know what you want to get out of it. So work out, where you rank now for those keywords, where you want to be, and start sort of aiming towards that by using article marketing to set up those links, back to your website and start driving your rankings higher.
Excellent stuff. Well, Steve, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been very useful, I'm sure, for a lot of people.
Well, thank you very much, David.
If you'd like to discuss any of the topics mentioned, we'd love to hear from you at www.26weekplan.com, where you can find more audio, videos, discussion, and of course, subscribe to our free 26-week Internet Marketing Plan newsletter. If today's topic was useful, please take a minute to rate and add a comment about the 26-week Internet Marketing Plan podcast on iTunes or wherever you downloaded this episode from. Until next time, thanks for listening.